Mission Impossible 1996. I'm not a fan of it. I started trying to watch this maybe twice within semi-recent memory and I just gave up. The horrible mid-90s visual look to it, there's something very off-putting about it, and Tom Cruise himself looks a wee bit odd. He's just a bit too young. His hair looks strange in my opinion. There's just something off-putting about everything about the movie. Anyway, I gave it another shot and it's a really mediocre movie. Its main problem is that it has a story that is utter crap. The story is small scale, small spy stuff. There's nothing interesting about it. The story and the characters are simply not interesting, and the action set pieces are really small. Obviously I think they were going more for an Alfred Hitchcock thriller type of thing rather than an action movie, but you think of Mission Impossible movies as being action movies, so maybe they picked the wrong type of genre to really do. Anyway, it was just not a very engaging movie. I don't even think it was entertaining, to be honest. It's just such a who cares story with indifferent action sequences, and I think Brian De Palma's direction was a bit too look at me without actually giving us anything worth looking at. An example of the small scale would be there is an escape from a restaurant and all it amounts to is a small explosion that blows up a fish tank, and then someone gets blown out of a window and Ethan Hunt, played by Tom Cruise, jumps out that window while the aquarium explodes behind him and the water follows him out into the street. In the context of future Mission Impossible movies, it is a tiny moment, but in this film it's filmed in slow motion and treated like it's a massive set piece, and I do believe that imagery was used heavily in all the marketing. Even here in the packaging, this is him jumping out of the restaurant. That's how big a deal it is to them, and it's really just such a indifferent who cares sequence. Even the famous breaking into the CIA through the air duct sequence was not very interesting. I just don't think it's a good movie, I really don't. It's just a really bad story that was not worth telling, and the film is just rather disappointing, and it lacks any real personality of its own. It's rather cold and I just don't feel anything from it. To call it bad would be a little extreme. To call it below average is to be very generous. So I would say it is way below average without actually being bad. It was watchable but weak.